What's up guys? Today we're talking triceps exercises. This is a follow-up to the biceps exercise I did earlier. That got a lot of great feedback, so I wanted to do one for triceps exercises that you might not be doing and that are worth taking a look at. So in this video, we're gonna cover some of my favorite accessory movements for triceps, and I'll talk about my rationale as to why I love each. As always, drop this video a like, drop the channel, subscribe. It helps me grow, but let's get right into the exercises. Setup is key for this variation. So set up like you normally would for a single arm tricep extension, grab a cable and position the body to the side. The reason I love this variation is because that cable is gonna put tension on that tricep the whole time. If you use a dumbbell, you lose it at the top. The overhead cable tricep extension right here is definitely a variation you've probably done before. But I will say that there are two performance notes that I think some people look past, and that's number one, keeping the elbows nice and tight to the body, and two, pulling that rope apart at the top. It makes a huge difference. The decline skull crush is another one of my favorite skull crush variations. The reason I love this is because it automatically puts you into an angle where the dumbbells are drifting a little bit more back, and for the sake of really trying to put a nice stretch on the triceps, that is why I opt for this exercise. Plus, keeping those arms back a little bit versus straight up and vertical helps really increase that full stretch at the bottom of the eccentric. Try these out, use a low like 10 to 20, maybe 30 degree of elevation decrease. Incline skull crush, again, one of my go-to staples. Why do I love them? Because look at the top, look at the nice stretch I'm getting in the tricep. I have to really focus on eccentric loading and keeping those elbows tight. And then at lockout, I have to overcome a pretty big deficit to get there. One tip here is grab those dumbbells towards the end of the dumbbell. I do that for the flat skull crush here, as you can see too. So this variation is a 1.5 skull crush. So basically, you're gonna be performing a half rep and then a full rep. Why do I love this variation? Well, when the shoulders are in an elevation around like 90 to 130 degrees, the medial head will be highly active. So I opt for this to really hone in and put a lot of tension on that medial triceps head. The final variation is the incline single arm cable extension. Again, I love this because the cable puts that constant tension on the tricep. So even at the top when I'm locked out and when normally weight would be stacked over that wrist and elbow and the tension would be off, this maintains the whole time, and it is a phenomenal tricep movement to try. Hey guys, before we wrap this video up, I want to touch on two different points. The first point is that when I make videos like this that have lists of exercises for different muscle groups and so forth, I never want them to be taken as best lists or definitive lists. This is simply to provide you with some more variety in your training. So maybe you haven't seen some of these exercises. Great, try them out, see how they work, and filter them into the context of what your goals are. I think at the end of the day, as we progress in our training age, it's important to experiment with different variations for various blocks of training, because then we can build out our staple movements that our body responds best to. For example, I know my body responds best to a dumbbell incline skull crush. How do I know this? I've ran it for multiple mesocycles, and that is always the movement that I'm able to progress the most with when it comes to tricep growth and strength. And I've only identified this because I've done so much A/B testing with different variations and so forth. So I implore you to do the same thing. The second point I want to talk about in this video is the triceps themselves. So we have three different triceps heads. We have the lateral, long, and medial head. Now, what does this mean and why is that relevant? Well, because when people say we're going to isolate the triceps or a specific head for that matter, we need to understand that when the triceps are moving the elbow into extension, all three of those heads are going to be active to some degree. So when we say isolating that one singular head, we're not really only using one head, we're just shifting emphasis onto one head. So if you are explaining that you're doing this exercise to focus on, let's say, the long head of the triceps, make sure that you convey that the triceps as a whole are going to be being trained, but the long head is receiving the extra emphasis. I often see that mistake a lot in newer lifters, which is like, oh, I'm really just isolating the lateral. No, you're not just isolating one singular head. It'd be like doing a squat and just saying, oh, I'm only isolating the outer quad. You're going to be activating all of the knee extensors to some degree. You might just be shifting emphasis onto that one. So when talking about the triceps and isolating them, let's be a little bit more careful with our language and our verbiage when we explain this, especially to newer lifters who are really trying to get a grasp on what it's like to truly extend the elbow through different movement patterns. If you like this video, drop it a like. I sincerely appreciate you for making it this long, and subscribe to the channel. It helps me grow, keeps me motivated, and sincerely, I need that.